He's free. But take away the only two. He's free. But take away the only two that he has to use. He's free. But take away the only two that he has to use to enjoy freedom with. Take that away from him. Put him in the world and tell him he's free, and take his legs off from under him. Take his arms off. Most of you don't know it, but the crucifix itself is a sign of what was coming upon the world. Not that Jesus the prophet is done like that, but a people that's born without father. A people that's born without leadership. A people that's born without of a mother having no father. Mother means society. Father means leadership. So Jesus is a sign of what's going to happen to the world, or what was going to happen to the world. The ancient people knew it. The devil himself knew it. And the devil himself put the image of Jesus on the cross as a sign of what the devil was going to do to the world. That he was going to bring the poor masses, those without leadership, without social fathers, without governmental fathers. Look how long we lived in America, 300 years, without a father in government to defend us. Is that right? Almost 300 years. A whole people lived in America without a father in government to defend us. Now, if you want to see a real strong sign that has all of the connections with the crucifixion of Jesus, look at our people for almost 300 years hanging on the limbs of the crucifiers. Now, you want to see Jesus? Don't look back there 2,000 years ago. That physical thing never happened. Never did they take a man and hang him up on a physical cross like that. You say, well, how did we get that story? From the builders of grafted artificial mentality. From the builders of the lie that was fabricated to put you in the condition that you're in. That's where you got it. Now look, brothers and sisters. The Holy Quran says that Jesus is a sign. Not only is the man a sign, the book says that Jesus and his mother are a sign. Is that right? Not only the man is a sign, but the mother too is a sign. A sign that there's going to be a people born in a society who has no father to acknowledge it. And will have to cry to a spiritual father, because that's the only father they'll be able to identify with. Do you understand? And the world will mistreat it, reject its goodness. And who can you find any better in the world than the poor? If you want to get a feeling from people's hearts, don't go to the rich. If you want to get a feeling from people's hearts, don't go to the learned. Go to the poor. Go to the ignorant, and you'll get a feeling from their heart. Look. Jesus was a sign of the heart that's in the poor, sign of the heart that's in the ignorant people. And the pouring out of that blood, brother, is the pouring out of your life. Not the life of a man that was supposed to have been crucified 2,000 years ago. The nailing of the hands was not the nailing of the hands of a man 2,000 years ago. It means that this big block of the public, this big block of people, because they had no father, and they spoke from the only thing they knew to speak from the heart, from the Spirit of God in themselves. They had no eloquent tongue to defend themselves in the halls of politics and science. So all they could do is speak from what they had. That was the Spirit of God. Is that right? And for doing that, they nailed the hand. It means...
Yes, we're giving you the material lessons of Christ, the material lessons of Christ, not the fabricated lessons or the fabricated perceptions, but the material lessons presenting the life and the symbolism of Christ that has been written in the Bible. For it is not accurate, but those who have correct understanding are able to decipher it. Jeremy rhymes are for children. So that which is being amplified in the Bible is for children. It is for children. It's a presentation to captivate the minds of the society or societies that was evidently due to come and leave the true knowledge, the true direction to the elders. So separating state, the society, they're separating state. But who are the society at the time? Rome. Because Christ was not known by Rome. They couldn't identify him. They never came into contact with him. And even if they did, they didn't know him. But they were worried of him. Mentally, they could not tolerate him. So the person who presents Christ in the Bible is a person called Saul, that his name was changed to Paul. Read, study, and find out why that happened. He was a persecutor of those whom Rome targeted as followers of Christ, Isa alayhi salam. And that's what Saul became. He was a bounty hunter for Rome. You also need to ask yourselves, did God interpole in the scriptures? Paul was entered in the scriptures by whom? And that fairy tale word, apostle, did Christ name anybody apostle? Did God name anybody apostle? Messengers and prophets. No apostles. This is European Christian people's concepts. No apostle. And when did God anoint him? So where is the gospel or the message when God appointed Saul, Paul? I mean, let us be sensible. So we're going to give you these lessons on this day, and we're going to go back so you can, and I'm going to keep chopping and changing so you can follow us. Those of you who have a rational mind, not those of you who are vindictive to say, why is a Muslim challenging? I'm not challenging. I'm questioning. And we're highlighting what we have studied. The indicator is in that book. But the questions is not in the book, but you need to question the book. So in questioning the book, logic becomes paramount. Where did the book come from? Who sourced the book? The context of the book. Who sourced that? Is God speaking? And then why is God challenging himself? Then why is God lying on himself? No one sees me. But yet still, this person, this title, Jesus Christ, or Jesus, is God incarnate. Now, we don't want to go around the Jim Screnchy and come up with all sorts of Hollywood talking, and then someone tells you about the 3-in-1, and neither do we want to go down to Emmanuel, because that's fabricated and people are feeling that Emmanuel means Christ and God with us. So then they jump and put Christ there and then put God there, without understanding that Emmanuel is a separate person. It has nothing to do with Christ. It's not Christ. So all of a sudden now, the author of the book, which isn't God, is rather confusing. And he says, the best of you who can understand my riddles is the one who are closest to me. God. And what was the language? What was the language that God revealed the Bible into? Was it Greek? Was it Greek? Please, let us understand that. And then, when it weren't Greek, was it Hebrew? Let us understand that. And then the Hebrews disappeared, and it went back to the Greek, and the Greek with the Latin, something happened, and it became English. Let us understand this. Because when you look at the Semitic language, Greece does not apply. Greek does not apply. And Hebrew does not apply. And if we're speaking of Abraham, Moses, Isaac, and Ishmael, know their languages before you condemn them. But then again, you may dismiss them because you say they never did exist. So if they did not exist, how is it that Christ exists? But you don't say Christ at this point, you say Jesus. So how come Jesus exists if Moses didn't exist and Abraham alayhi salam did not exist? You cannot continue to bemuse people, because all that has happened has revealed itself, because they've implemented what they have configured, and that's the life that the world has been living up to now. A fabricated life. And now they've come of age, they've decided to change the situation again. That's why they've been making men, trying to transform humans, because they've outgrown their source. And they're saying that God cannot do anything, because look what we have done. That's what is being put before the world. That's what is being put before the world. So I've decided to bring to you material possessions or the material symbolic lessons of Christ, Isa alayhi salam. Proper things. Right? Don't look at us. Listen to the words. Don't condemn us because you're saying we're Africans. Listen to the words. Don't condemn us because you know I'm a Muslim. Listen to the words. Let's go. We're going backward to come forward. Listen carefully.
He's free, but take away the only tool that he has to use to enjoy.
And it's not AI black. It's human. It's human. It's just that we're the one that's deciphering it. But it's human. We're the ones that have been victims of the aggression and the hostility and the abuse. But it is for human beings on this earth. We're just a vehicle of unraveling social science.
Freedom with. Take that away from him. Put him in the world and tell him he's free, and take his legs off from under him. Take his arms off. Most of you don't know it, but the crucifix itself is a sign of what was coming upon the world. Not that Jesus the prophet is done like that, but a people that's born without father. A people that's born without leadership. A people that's born without of a mother having no father. Mother means society. Father means leadership. So Jesus is a sign of what's going to happen to the world, or what was going to happen to the world. The ancient people knew it. The devil himself knew it. And the devil himself put the image of Jesus on the cross as a sign of what the devil was going to do to the world. That he was going to bring the poor masses, those without leadership, without social fathers, without governmental fathers. Look how long we lived in America, 300 years, without a father in government to defend us. Is that right? Almost 300 years. A whole people lived in America without a father in government to defend us. Now, if you want to see a real strong sign that has all of the connections with the crucifixion of Jesus, look at our people for almost 300 years hanging on the limbs of the crucifiers. Now, you want to see Jesus? Don't look back there 2,000 years ago. That physical thing never happened. Never did they take a man and hang him up on a physical cross like that.
What did they enshrine in our conscience? What did they enshrine in our sensibility? What did we do when we were not even free? We took the gift of a likeness that did not look like us, but even if it did, and finish up on a cross, we took that likeness and hanged in the space that we use. And that was in deep slavery. And then when we came out of the deep slavery, that was our key possession. And we've been mentioning things, worshiping it. We believe in it more than we believe in our own selves. They enshrine that in our consciousness. And then we pray to it for some ease. We pray to it for food, we pray to it for life, we pray to it for work. And today it continues. But where is our good shepherd and fishermen as people who are ministering? They've gone to theological school. So instead of learning correct knowledge and how to amplify and project correct knowledge, they continued the same program of the slave masters when we were on the plantation. So nothing's changed. But that's just us. That's just what's happened to us. But the wider world is being fed the same. The same. The only difference in their gratification, they are worshiping themselves. But they're also told, don't bind to it. There's 3 separate roads. There are 3. And they gave them the run to choose, the right one. And when you look at it, isn't the world all about material possessions? It's still not the correct one, but it's one that makes them sober. Sober, it does. Because intellectually they compete with themselves and their neighbor, their brethren, for material possessions. And go back and look at their history. Before they conquered it, they were fighting each other. And they solved it that it was about possessions. So they changed the script. They doctored the script. And it eased their emotions. But don't go too far, Sally, because guess what? The Africans came on board. The Africans came across into Spain and didn't just come and decipher life. They came and developed an infrastructure across Europe. And that changed the mentality of the European Caucasian in that land, in the lands. Tolerance were administered. Cleanliness, hygiene were administered. Education was projected. Exchange was done subtly. And I say that wisely because balance were given to them, which were scales. And they were taught how to use the scales. What does the scales represent? And to be just with it. Read European history with the Africans and you see that became the stumbling block. Until the Africans, which were Muslims, developed their own trading posts and then requested them to pay the tax. And that became, in history, you can see that was the Achilles heel. Because Queen Isabella, the different popes that they were able to anoint, didn't want it. And after 800 plus years, They felt that they had enough of these people. And there were conflicts. But what halt the conflict for a period of 30 plus years was the Black Death. Because the Africans were required and medical understanding as well as hygiene was now another role that the Africans played and introduced in Europe. What am I building this like that for? It's to show you that all that happened in them trying to develop this Christianity didn't have no impression on the Africans. So it'd be wrong for people to keep saying that Christianity started in Africa. What was among these people didn't have no impression on the Africans. It did not. None whatsoever. They didn't compete with them. They kept showing them how to be just, how to be truthful, how to be sincere, and that God is one. There's no partnership with God. And that Isa, Christ, Yeshua, is a messenger sent. The mighty miracle by God Almighty. But you just don't want to read the European-owned scripts. If you but read their scripts, you would see that very clearly there. From Latin into English. Nothing to do with Greek translation. Let's continue.
Say, well, how did we get that story? From the builders of the connections with the crucifixion of Jesus. Look at our people for almost 300 years hanging on the limbs of the crucifiers. Now you want to see Jesus? Don't look back there 2,000 years ago. That physical thing never happened. Never did they take a man and hang him up on a physical cross like that. You say, well, how did we get that story? From the builders of grafted artificial mentality. From the builders of the lie that was fabricated to put you in the condition that you're in. That's where you got it. Now look, brothers and sisters. The Holy Quran says that Jesus is a sign. Not only is the man a sign, the book says that Jesus and his mother are a sign. Is that right? Not only the man is a sign, but the mother too is a sign. A sign that there's going to be a people born in a society who has no father to acknowledge it and will have to cry to a spiritual father because that's the only father they'll be able to identify with. Do you understand? And the world will mistreat it, reject its goodness. And who can you find any better in the world than the poor? If you want to get a feeling from people's hearts, don't go to the rich. If you want to get a feeling from people's hearts, don't go to the learned. Go to the poor. Go to the ignorant, and you'll get a feeling from their heart. Look. Jesus was a sign of the heart that's in the poor, sign of the heart that's in the ignorant people. And the pouring out of that blood, brother, is the pouring out of your life. Not the life of a man that was supposed to have been crucified 2,000 years ago. The nailing of the hands was not the nailing of the hands of a man 2,000 years ago. It means that this big block of the public, this big block of people, because they had no father, and they spoke from the only thing they knew to speak from the heart, from the Spirit of God in themselves. They had no eloquent tongue to defend themselves in the halls of politics and science. So all they could do is speak from what they had. That was the Spirit of God. Is that right? And for doing that, they nailed the hand. It means make it impossible for you to be financially successful. Nail your feet. It means make it impossible for you to go away from a persecuting environment to a better one. You can't even walk out of the world. Everywhere you go, you carry the burden of a stigma on you. You're a nigger and a beast of prey everywhere you go. Is that right? So though you're moving physically, you're making no movement at all. Your social feet are nailed to the cross. Is that right? Now look at the book, you see yourself. The book says that Jesus and his mother's a sign. Now study the Christian teachings, and you'll find that the preacher knows about it. You'll find that Jesus, his mother, Mary, is just one Mary. But there are two more Marys in the book. In fact, there are many Marys. But there are three major Marys. Mary, the mother of Jesus, Mary, the sister of Martha, Mary, the prostitute that was reformed. Is that right? It is talking about nothing but the three types of society. That's all it's talking about. Society have leadership on three levels. One is on the level of the doctors of law, the political leadership. Another is on the level of the spiritual people. And right at the bottom you have those that don't have any leadership. Is that right? Jesus was born from both. His mother didn't become righteous because the Jews taught her righteousness. His mother became righteous because she belonged to a people that had no place in Israel. And they had nothing to turn to but Almighty God. So Jesus' mother, being a sign, a symbol of the poor people, the rejected people, she became the holiest of all. Do you understand? All right. So Jesus was born of that woman, that rejected woman, that woman that had no real husband. Is that right? Woman that was accused of fornication and adultery because nobody would own her children. Is that right? All praises to Allah. Okay. So if you want to see Christ, see yourself. They laughed at Christ, mocked Christ. Here is the fool that would be king of the Jews. Let's give him a crown of thorns. That's what they have done to the masses, the deprived masses of the world. They say, here are people that once had a glorious seat in the high places of ancient civilization. Asia and Africa and the islands of the tropics. Let us now give them a crown of thorns. Racism. Jesus Christ, your Savior. Democracy without a taste of democracy. Christ without a taste of salvation. Let's give them this crown of thorns that pierce into their brain and kill the nerve centers. See, a thorn has needles on it. And Yaqub, he had the nurses stick needles into the brains of the newborn babies, you understand? So here this crown of thorns got needles on it that pierce the head and go into the nerve centers and numb the brain. Give him a crown of thorns. Laugh at him. Say, here is the king. Look at the king. Is that right? Says they put on his head a crown of thorns. And when they didn't just let the thorns be placed on his head, it says they crushed it into his head. And they show the blood coming out of his head. We think it means blood. Doesn't mean blood. It means your common sense. They press upon your head the hypocritical teachings of freedom and salvation through faith in the Trinity. And that thing piercing into your mind kills your brain and make you bleed out all of your common senses. You think I'm joking? You think I'm just talking to charm you or to interest you? Go get any authority on the Bible, and I'll do it this evening. And if you're tired, I'll stay here by myself on the floor. And just let one man stay here to report it. And I'll prove to you before the preacher, before a bishop, before a pope, before a rabbi, if Jesus could appear right here himself and disagree with me, I would make him confess that I speak the truth. Allahu Akbar. I'm not speaking from guesswork. I'm a scientist. I've tested my findings by every rule of scientific investigation.
Some of us, due to education, we have come across the title and the subject social science. Many of us have not. So I would say not Google it, but visit your libraries and look at social science with getting a clear indication of social science. Then you can see, or we should be able to see, our role or choose a role within the environment which we call the society that we live within. But what it would also show us is that we have been grown to be so negligent about ourselves and our surroundings. Our communities does not exemplify that which others are participating within. So you see a European standard and a Caribbean standard and a diasporan standard in relation to the Habashi, the African or the black families. And that's true lack of education and education in the sense of understanding how societies have been shaped, how environment has been shaped. And remember, we are the ancestors, are the children of the slaves. Not knowing how to develop ourselves. Living doesn't mean development. We have just survived. We have just survived. So that I'm saying that for the pessimist who's saying, I'm not that, right? No, relax. Living don't mean that. Do we understand how the society is being structured? We're learning. But are we able and have we been able to adopt any of that and teach that to ourselves and then input that into our own environment our own communities and grow. No, we haven't. No, we haven't. But you also recognize that in all of our communities, some decadence slips in that we weren't totally responsible for. But true, we're not focusing on ourselves and our social science development. It passes us by. How did drugs get into our lives? And I just chose the one that's really battered us. How did neglect get into our lives? How did lack of responsibility get into our lives, oh you men? How did dishonor get into our lives? But yet still we pick up his book and pay him rent for a property. And we attend that place to listen to his sermon by one of ourselves, one of our own. And nothing changes for us. But Jesus is still the guiding star that we all looked at. Now, this is not racial entitlement. This is not racial division. It's just the truth of what we've been doing. That's what we've been doing. And they've got some of us stuck whereby if we were to question it, then we're thinking we're questioning God, and we can't do that. But when someone among us come out and say something, then we turn from that someone. But what did the society have been good at? They project who they would like to take us down certain alleyways and subways and byways. So now we have contradicted services. And that's what they've been good at. And that's called divide and rule. They're playing sociology and psychology, supplanting different folks to get different strokes in and among us. So we don't agree with each other. So we haven't got a clue about social science. Now, why is that important? That is how the societies across the earth is being built, is being formulated. Those principles are what is applied. Now, don't misconstrue that by saying, oh, democracy. Yeah, democracy needs that. The democracy that all of these countries speak about, that is material power, economical power, force, arms struggle. That's the democracy they speak of. The real active is social science. So we had, 70 plus more years where there was this racial divide and conflict by England and America against Russia and China because they were deemed to be other than democracies. And that word wasn't fashionable. So they say that Russia and China were communists. Anyone who wasn't toeing their line and trying to adopt their principles were an enemy. So if you look back and trace it for yourselves, you'll see that material economics was that day. And then the arms race became part and parcel of that day. And then they triggered everyone with a new talk, Cold War, the Cold War race. And many of us didn't even understand what the hell that meant. And it was a race within arms, the arms race. And who's calling whose bluff. And they just went off building weapons of destruction. That the name became nuclear, atoms before it get nuclear, and so on and so on. In the meantime, their people are developing. We are just about surviving. Because we haven't understood the fundamental principles of what they were doing. And our training in academia, we didn't know what that was. We just went and learned arithmetic and how to speak and write English. Whereas our counterpart, they were training for professions in the Industrial Revolution. We weren't. We were just learning English and maths and a little geography, because most Americans don't know nothing about outside of America. They hear about Germany because of the conflict. Other than that, they were novices. But that changed. Now come back to us now. What changed with us? We weren't motivated and encouraged to look to Africa. We weren't. So we were fed like animals in a zoo. We had no choice. Whatever was given to us, we had to take. So this is not a blame game. This is now to say, hey, we've come of age a long time. Why are we daring each other for change? Why are we daring each other for change? We have to develop the understanding of self-love. We're not Indian Americans. We're African. We're Africans. We're the children of the captured people that was brought to that land. And tricked, abused, and then confused up to now. Yes, it's harsh, really. No, it's not. It's a reality. Many more words, many more sentences can be said. But there's some squeamish people that says, yo, you have no right speaking about us like that. Who the hell are you? How are you qualified? You can speak it for yourself. If you but only relax and spend some time knowing your family. Yes, your family. Develop your family tree. And reconnect yourself with their journey, their history, which evidently becomes all our stories. And your rational faculties will kick in. You won't just sit on the sideline and become a pessimist because we have mouth. We need to be optimists. I'm not saying follow me or follow Imam. No. Listen and take something from it. We're not glorifying ourselves because we know something. No. Because what we know, others know better. What we think we know, others know better. And none of us knows everything, and we're not also clear of that which we perceive to know. Does that make logical sense to you? That means we don't boast. We don't boast. It's not necessary. But what we can stand on is what the words to which we speak. Yes. Now, what is the basis of making us feel that we've got something fundamentally true? Al-Quran. Al-Quran.
And have also received the word from heaven, saying, it is done. So you can play if you want to, I'm not playing. And if just a handful of people follow me in sincerity, we're going to shake this world up and down. And going to bring back milk, whole milk. Milk that you see cream on top of. This old world's leadership got weak. And people on the low levels of society begin to see the defects in the heaven of the wicked world. They saw that heaven wasn't as shiny and as pure as it looked to be. They began to question the knowledge on high. Before they began to suspect the knowledge was wrong, men without great knowledge just couldn't accept the conduct of a world that claimed to be right and was behaving as though it knew nothing of any righteousness at all. The Honorable Frederick Douglass, in one of his addresses, perhaps you read it in Jet magazine, indicted the Western leadership, America, with such clear, clean-cutting words. That he brought converts even from their ranks to support the movement for justice. Is that right? Powerful and eloquent orator. Great man, Frederick Douglass. But before his time, there was Nat Turner. Black man that couldn't understand a society looking so beautiful in the face and being so cruel in its kicks, kicking him down in the dirt, stumping him under the ground. So he rose up not being able to diagnose the disease in the mind of the Western society, but he just knew that what they preached and agreed with their action, and rose up and rebelled, lost his life and a few lives of his slave brothers, but he sure left a mark, a pain in the conscience of the beast we call Western civilization. Is that right? Behind him, others rose. Frederick Douglass, with his preaching, he awoke the conscience of American Caucasians. Is that right? But before he awoke enough conscience, there was a fanatical Caucasian, John Brown. who read the Bible and he couldn't reconcile what was going on with the teachings of the Bible. So John Brown, a fanatical Caucasian, got on his horse and got him an army and went out trying to slay slave masters. Is that right? We're talking about leadership. Where did this come from? Where did Frederick Douglass get his leadership from? Who led him? Who missioned John Brown? Who missioned Nat Turner? All praise is due to our Lord. There was a man called David Walker. Is that right? A slave. Up north, trying to enjoy a little freedom. David Walker preached, and if you could get the book called the David Walker Appeals and read those appeals that he made to the conscience of this artificial mentality, you will bear me witness that that man's preachings compares with the preachings of the prophets such as Jeremiah, Daniel, Ezekiel. Those men didn't preach with any more spiritual and moral effectiveness than did David Walker. That man preached, I'm telling you, and his word went home. But do we know of any prophet of the Belialians in America? No. Man outpreached the prophets of Israel, but didn't get one single Belialian to say, this is our prophet. Why? Because we were thoroughly destroyed, thoroughly dead, completely insensitive, 5 senses gone. Is that right? Crown of Christianity upon our heads, loaded with deception, loaded with lies and deceit, killing our 5 senses, so we couldn't respond to any great leader. All right, that wasn't all. Behind them came Du Bois, Marcus Garvey, great men that championed the cause of the dignity of the Belialian people in America. Is that right? Great men, great orators. But how much support did they get from us? We followed them as long as there was a sizable number of Caucasians praising them. But as soon as the Caucasians stopped saying he was great, we forgot all about the greatness of our great hero. Is that right? Couldn't get any leadership in America, could we? No, because the whole atmosphere, all of the thoughts in the air is designed for your mind to breathe in destruction that will poison and undermine the development of strong leadership. You don't want no leadership. All you want is Jesus. Somebody that you can't identify with. Somebody you can't touch. You can't walk with him. You can go and see him, and you come off your trip, you walk with the world. Identifying with dead leaders, bygone leaders, or people who don't have any governmental life in their bodies. That's all they can do is identify with dead leaders. In the history of our people, the only successful man has really been myself. I'm the only one who has been successful in coming up without support and keeping the forces intact, saving the leadership. You might say, well, didn't your father do it? No. When Master Farad left my father, his movement went down to almost nothing. 10 years passed, nothing. 20 years passed, nothing. It took him almost until 1948 to get something started again. But Almighty Allah blessed me with the knowledge of the tricks that goes on in this world. Not just on the physical plane, but on the spiritual plane. And way up there where the fire is, where the light of the sun is, he showed me the devil climb all the way up to the sun. Showed me how he go up to the sun and bring fire down from heaven. So he couldn't destroy this. Didn't know how to come at me. Heard me speak and say, what in the world has happened overnight? The man don't sound like Elijah. Don't sound like Moses. Sounds something like Jesus. Has Jesus returned? Yes, he has, in full force. Praise is due to Allah. So our great heroes came up, and as long as they could attract the attention of the Caucasian, we were attracted. But as soon as the world forgot them, we buried our leaders. All praise is due to Allah for this day and time. Noble Ali preached, turned people away from the Christian church, turn them away from the Christian culture, turn them toward Morocco. But how successful he was. Soon as the Caucasians attacked him, the majority of our people turned their backs on him. They are stronger now than they've ever been. Then along came the silk peddler. That old strange Arab that didn't act like no Arab and certainly didn't act like any Western Caucasian person, but looked like a Caucasian and used names, titles and expressions and symbols and names of the Arab people, but taught something that looked totally different. Is that right? Sneaked in under the cover of darkness. Sneaked in under the cover of symbolism. And left a heavy symbolic message. And he knew just where to put it. He didn't give it to the political-minded Bilalian or to the academic-minded Bilalian. He gave it to an old Southern Baptist-minded Bilalian whose only knowledge was symbolism. Because you know the preacher, he's preached so much symbolism until he forget his tongue sometime and just start saying, see, that preacher, he talks so much code language, and so sometimes he get out of touch with his code and he start going into his own code. So Master Farad knew where to bring his symbolism. He brought it to the son of a Baptist preacher who was dissatisfied with the leadership of his father. Is that right? One who wouldn't be so much concerned about changing the teachings of Christ or changing the teachings of the Old Testament. He wouldn't care because he never accepted it anyway. He had his own ideas about the book. Is that right? So Master Farad searched all over the streets of Detroit and elsewhere and finally found Elijah Poole. And he dropped that heavy symbolism on Elijah Poole. Along came Elijah Muhammad, a man that was put on to the tricks of the Caucasian mind and had faith enough in his teacher and in the teachings that he got to hold on to the formula regardless to what. If the formula don't produce today, hold on to it. In the 1930s, the formula didn't produce for Elijah Muhammad. In the 1940s, the formula didn't produce for the all of Elijah Muhammad. Even in the 1950s, the formula didn't produce for the all of Elijah Muhammad. Am I correct? But in the 60s, man, oh man, that formula started to produce for the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. Look how long that man had faith in his teacher. Why he had faith in his teacher? Because his teacher was wise. His teacher saw that the strongest thing in America among the Bilalian people was Jesus. So his teacher told him that I'm Jesus. And Elijah Muhammad accepted Master Farad as Jesus. There was a place in his heart for Jesus. There was a place in every so-called Negro's heart in America for Jesus. So Master Farad said, I'm Jesus. And Elijah Muhammad opened up his heart. Said, yes, you must be Jesus. Because you sound like what I've been looking for and what I've been thinking and what I've been feeling. I can follow you. I couldn't follow my father. But I can follow you, Master Farad. So Elijah came out in his fiery garments with his violent and fiery tongue, turning the altars into fire, the sweet waters of Scripture into fire. Is that right? Challenging the false prophets of the church. Telling Jezebel, come on out of your hiding place, woman. You wicked, filthy, no good, shameful thing. Stop hiding behind your aristocracy and come on out here and let the world see your shame. Is that right? Now Elijah Muhammad, fiery tongue, mean preacher. Is that right? Now, he came and he was kind of, uncivilized. See, that Elijah of the book, brother, he was a little uncivilized, wasn't he? He ordered his men, I think, to go cut the heads off of the false prophets, didn't he? After defeating them, he wasn't satisfied. The man wanted to draw blood, cut the heads off. He was kind of savage, you know. But the book says, before the awful and dreadful day of the Lord, Elijah must come. Is that right? See, if you have had an awful and dreadful time, somebody have to rise up in the spirit of that awful and dreadful time and start doing some awful and dreadful things to awake the mind of that awful and dreadful leadership. This was Elijah. So the book said Elijah must first come. Is that right? All praise due to Allah. But after Elijah comes Christ. Is that right? All right. Christ, he's civilized. He don't flood the rostrum. Elijah said, throw barrels of water on the pulpit. I'm going to turn it into fire. See, Christ didn't come like that. Christ came walking in quietly. Is that right? Came in like the quietness of a tornado that's coming. Comes in quietly, everything is so quiet. And all of a sudden there's thunder and lightning. Christ didn't do it. His presence did it. Is that right? But Christ didn't bring down no thunder and lightning. He wasn't loud. He wasn't flashy. Christ was quiet. Is that right? But his quietness caused a disturbance in the atmosphere that was like the quietness before the storm. So his very presence brought about thunder and lightning and the shaking up of things. Is that right? All praise due to Allah. The predictor said, oh, this is the end. The Nation of Islam is getting ready to go down. That new leader, he's reversing everything his father taught. He's not politically wise. He doesn't know how to pick up the tools of his father and get his people's confidence before doing those strange things. They didn't know that a new man was on the scene. Is that right? So they hadn't been taught like you. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad says the one that come after me will be a new man. Say the one that succeeds Master Farad will be a new man. Saying he will do all things in accordance with his own knowledge. Say he won't accept anything of the old. Say he'll change everything and build a totally new world. Is that right? All praise due to Allah. All praise to Allah. for any man to join me. I was looking for empty vessels to put men into. And I found a lot of them in the house of Elijah. Because his job wasn't to put men into empty vessels. His job was to pour out of the vessels that pollution that had been put into them. Is that right? Look what happened now. After so many great leaders made the sign of their life known in the womb by pushing, thrusting their foot into the side of the stomach. You know that baby when it's in the womb and is ready to come out, man, sometimes it hit that woman's belly so hard you see his elbow jutting out. Is that right? Pressing and said, let me out of here, I'm gonna get out of here, you know, it's time to come out. Well, we had leaders like that was hitting the sides of the womb, the belly of this society, and making their presence known. We couldn't see them. Leadership hadn't been established yet, but we saw that there's something in there that was awful strong. Look how long J. Rogers worked with the pen. Look how long he appealed to the minds of our people. All praise is due to Allah. And many others. Hammurabi used to go all over the East Coast, come all in the Midwest with his films and his lectures, trying to bring the birth of Bilalian leadership. Is that right? All of a sudden, God began to give help from within and without. We had our John Browns to help us. We had the Quakers and others. We had a few friends in government. But the season changed. A new season came upon the earth. And the mighty of the world didn't look so mighty anymore. The old Russian bear rose up and began to do things that made himself look as strong and producing miracles as the Western leadership. Then something else developed that was awful power.
Yes. So we're not concluding. We are just going to shape the reality and shape the consciousness of some of our minds, you know. I'd like to say all, but, you know, you just have to be cautious and take time.
Mr. Money Man, he will enter the fort, let they cry no more. Let they cry no more. No more. Let they cry no more. Cry no more. Cry no more. Oh, concrete castle king, won't you give us an helping hand? Oh, concrete castle king, I hope you will understand we're suffering. Yes, you're living in your concrete castle on the hill. Why? You don't know what life is like in the ghetto. I living in a 2x4 with no place to walk around. No, while you're in a castle all alone. Oh, concrete castle king, won't you give us an helping hand? Oh, concrete castle king, I hope you will understand we're suffering. Yeah, we're suffering. So life isn't easy in the ghetto. No, it's hard to keep from getting into trouble. The temptation is great, Lord, and you don't have no one to say you don't do it. Oh no, no, no. Mr. Kong, Mr. King Kong, man. Whoa, whoa, yeah. Mr. Money Man. Give a hand to the poor. We cry no more. So many days we stand in the rain and sun, waiting for the bus that never comes. You best back in your fancy car, why? Wearing your plastic smile and smoking your big cigar. Oh, concrete castle king, won't you give us an helping hand? Oh, concrete castle king, I hope you will understand we're suffering. Whoa, we're suffering. We need your hand. Wait. Concrete castle king,
Yeah, you understand?
Whoa. We can't take no more.
And I understand? May I tell you, overstand. Yeah, I tell you, man, we are serious about here. Come here.
Mr. Money Man, give an end to the poor, let they cry no more. Let they cry no more.
Tell your friends, share the link,
No more.
express the truth.
Let they cry no
Well, you
more.
know what it is, you know.
Cry no more.
Junior
Cry no more.
Concrete Castle King.
Oh, concrete castle king, won't you give us an helping hand? Oh, concrete castle king, I hope you will understand we're suffering. Yes, you're living in your concrete castle on the hill. Why? You don't know what life is like in the ghetto.
At that we are saying, some people just think, say, we just jump out and carry on a certain way. If you listen to those words and digest them, you listen to the words and digest them, you understand that we don't play games. You understand? We accept that we're the children of the slaves and we want to liberate ourselves from mental slavery and want to repatriate ourselves to the motherland over time. So the art form that we took through reggae music and everything can justify and stand for that. We're not lawless people. You understand? We have dignity and we have respect. So one of our brethren in past, but this song, you know, sums up everything, again and again. Come again.
brought us to slave in this big plantation, fussing and fighting among ourselves. Nothing to achieve this way. It's worse than hell, I say.
Yes. So just to fire a shot, a blank shot at my African American brothers of today. Find me a song anywhere close to that the song. Find me a song anywhere close to that the song. You don't have none. You understand? You don't have none. Now listen good and listen carefully with both ears. We're not coconuts. Stop that conversation. Sing. I know this for sure. We existed before what they call slavery. You know. A lot of people them speak and say what they must say and carry on with what they're carrying on with, and they're projecting something like we only existed in slavery. Now, if that stupidness be the truth, how is it that we have names like James and Smith and all these things? They're not our names. So you all, those of you all adopt that thought process you're crazy. You understand? Seriously, I can't find a better way to say it. You're just crazy. You're dumb. You understand? Smith, McDonald, McDougal, Jones, Peters, Malcolms. Come on, man. Let's be sensible. Yeah? You don't have to have a degree to have sense, ability. Yeah? So we existed before slavery. And we are proud people. And we are people with a culture. And we are people with a history. You understand? We are people of civilization. We just didn't come through being captured and brought to America and the Caribbean and so forth and being victims of some evil men and women. No, stop it.
This is the cry of a people who were robbed and raped from their homeland and their loved ones. A people stripped of their culture, their dignity, their liberty, and their rights. And by the cruel and presumptuous hands of the colonial and imperialistic slavers, were cargoed into the West.
Are you all going to pretend that you can't understand, comprehend what he's saying? Are you joking? I better still, let me slow it down a bit. Let me go to chapter 1. Come here. Now you notice that the engineer, you understand? Engineer just step up. You see? This is the original piece though. Okay. Now don't get scared, don't get jumpy. Serious, not true. Children, yes, Papa. Where you come from, Grandma?
We've been down in the valley much too long. We've been down in a poverty oh so long, yeah. We've been down in captivity much too long. We've been down in humility and oh so long. So rise and shine and win your liberations. For now's the time when all nations must be free. So rise and shine, restore your strength and power. Waste no more time. Remember your history. We've been down in a sufferation much too long. We've been down in humiliation oh so long, yeah. We've been down in a condemnation much too long. We've been down in a segregation oh so long. So rise and shine as the morning sun
tell your mama, tell your papa, tell your grandfather, tell your grandmother, tell yourself, man, righteousness is coming, is surrounding us slowly, 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 with morality. You understand me? Seriously. Okay. Guidance, we're gone. Oh, Charlie, Crucial Chaplain. This is the chaplain.
All the gift of Jah is eternal life, but the wisdom of sin is death. So the more the wicked man live, and the more I my government.
Charlie!
And I know everything that glitter is world.
Bebo!
Dedicated to the young and the old.
Did you hear that? You understand me? Because if we have wild understandings as parents and adults, what is there for the children? I mean, should not we as adults, along with the mother, be the mother is the first teacher? You understand? So if we neglect our responsibility and duty, then all that has happened already, nothing will change. And we will just be acclaiming supremacy as the issue in 2026 or 25. You know what I mean? It's next door. So that's if we live. So is it that we're saying that we're so ignorant or we don't care? Something's wrong. Something's got to be wrong. A change must come, but is it that you're looking for the Jesus? Are you looking for supremacy to say, well, you deserve this? It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. The best of us are constantly being selected and employed. And the most funky of us is being selected to put in Hollywood and all these little dramas to control the attention and influence ourselves and have a greater influence on immature people, which is our children. So what is the role that we are actually playing in shaping and understanding social science? We have to accept responsibility. This is not the time for crying tough and proportional blame over this and over this, hoping perhaps that somebody over this or wherever is going to do something to enable us to realize that we are our own worst enemy. You understand? Because each one does teach one, but we have to learn to love ourselves. And we have to respect our women, our females. Because what kind of generation are we about creating, and what society are we intending to nurture? This is very important. We should not be dismissive. We shouldn't be dismissive. Because There's so much that we should obtain based on what we have done, and to look at where is that we intend to go with our lives. And we should not underestimate Africa, and we should not divorce ourselves from Africa. I'm saying that. And one thing we can look at is the James, the McDonalds, the McDougals, the Michaels, the Malcolms, and all these names. What we're doing is surrendering ourselves to those countries and disconnecting our souls and our conscience from our ancestors, and not really recognizing that that's what's actually happening, or has happened and are happening. I mean, there's so much people that are so confident, and they will spill blood for their Michaels and Malcolms and everything, these names. I want to take mockery or make mockery of our African brothers and sisters. And yet still, they cannot pronounce their name, but they don't realize that there's significance in the name. The names have meanings. Yo, Richie Spice, them leaders. So I say guidance. Chaplain, me cut your shot. Guidance, gone.
Oh lordies, this little song I'm about to sing, you know. You know how long I wanna sing it? I get some love when I hear time in the morning. I share together with my brethren and my sister. I helping and to the elders. A little love unto the youngsters. And that's the way Rasta gonna burn the shadows away. Don't follow the leaders with the chicken and the cannon. Don't follow the people, them are all backstabbing. Don't follow the leaders that we wash the little troubles away. Yeah. Don't follow the leaders with the chicken and the cannon. Don't follow the people, them are all backstabbing. Don't follow the leaders that we wash the little troubles away. Yeah. The jumpers can up on the race, yeah. This is a thing, ziggy zaggy on. A peer freak, them against the sponsors. Neglect the righteous suits in all the areas. Why do they use their lives to hold us down? When King Rastafari law is there to be found. Red, don't follow the leaders with the chicken and the cannon. Me say don't follow the people, them are all backstabbing. Don't follow the leaders that we wash the little troubles away. Yeah. Don't follow the leaders with the chicken and the cannon. Don't follow the people, them are all backstabbing. Don't follow the leaders that we wash the little troubles away. Hey, I determined this within myself, but I will not come to you in sorrow. So just say Corinthians 2. So while you're here today, don't get caught in their display. They will mesmerize your eyes and lead you astray. Yeah, don't follow the leaders with their chicken and their cannon. Me say don't follow the leaders, them are all backstabbing. Don't follow the people that we wash the little troubles away. Yeah, don't follow the leaders with their chicken and their cannon. Me say don't follow the leaders, them are all backstabbing. Don't follow the leaders that we wash the little troubles away. Yeah, a.m. in the morning. I share together with my brethren and my sister. A helping hand to the elders, a little love to the youngsters. And that's the way Rastafari wash your troubles away. Eh, 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 eh. That's the way Rastafari wash your troubles away. Yeah. No follow the leaders with their chicken and their canning. Don't follow the people, them are all backstabbing. No follow the leaders that will wash your little troubles away. Yeah. No follow the leaders with their chicken and their canning. Don't follow the people, them are all backstabbing. No follow the leaders that will wash your little troubles away. Yeah.
Yes. So we have to say guidance, teaching everyone, and give thanks to those who have come in. And don't feel bashful, you can put something in the chat once you say something relating to what the title is. And, if I don't know, I will say to you, I don't know. I'm not going to try to say something for the sake of saying something to amuse myself and diffuse yourselves. You know what I mean? Because if I don't know, I don't know. You understand? So feel free. You understand? And don't just come up, think, say you're going to get a bag of tune. Because the bag of tune, something is really Friday, a cultural expression. But I try to level out something. And, you know what I mean? Sometimes just the spirit, the feelings is not good, because what is actually happening in Gaza, because people don't hear it regularly, like the last 3 or 4 weeks ago, it's still going on. You understand? It's still going on. The people are still being massacred, and the place are being flattened and so forth, right? So nothing has changed. It's, if anything, because there's no news media and everything else, it's accelerated. You understand? So that's what I say the other day. A light that's been spoken about, a great deal of lies being spoken about hostages. They've been just using that to continue what they're actually doing. There were hostages, there were hostage exchange and so forth. And it is Hamas that is trying to get Palestinians out of the Israeli prisons and camps. It's not Israel trying to get people out of Gaza. No, that series, they finished. You understand, right? So those who have sense and eyes will see that and understand that and recognize that. We're not representing or defending or trying to defend something that isn't. You know what I mean? That'd be very hypocritical at the same time. We want truth, we want righteousness on both sides. But that conjunction, the apartheid and the mistreatment of the Palestinian people has been ongoing. It's not something that has ceased. No, it's just been ongoing, So the topic that we just had up there, I'm not going away from that. I will come back maybe tomorrow, God willing. But I will come back because it's all about us viewing ourselves, viewing our children, what is being disseminated, what has been disseminated to us, and what is actually being disseminated also to our children, and what is now being disseminated within education across Europe and also in America, in North America. You understand? So it's important, but it's more important that we view ourselves, right, in this, and not just throw aspersions over this and over this. We have to view ourselves, right? What have we not done? What have we done? And up to then and now, what have we not done? Right? Self-analysis is very important. And most of us who are in professional employment, we know about assessment and evaluation every 3 months. And presidents and prime ministers and all these people do that. And they usually remove our strength. And some people turn around and say that they're strengthening their party, their executives, and so forth. Right? Yeah. But sometimes they're getting rid of people that are dead stock, people that doesn't have the true potential, and so forth. They've undertaken a position that they are qualified for, but they do not have the ability. You see, that sounds strange, isn't it? Right? And so on. So, yeah, these things happen, but we need to assess and evaluate ourselves and our journeys, and also reach out to Africa, just don't sit back and ignore Africa. Reach out to Africa, right? Once we reach out to Africa, then we know about what is happening there, and we can recognize what we have done and what we've contributed, what we can contribute to Africa, and then we can raise and direct our children accordingly. And I was going to use the word adequately, but accordingly, because Africa needs us and we need Africa. You understand? Africa definitely needs us, and we definitely needs Africa. Hey, where Jerusalem gone? So it's very important, and at the same time working and discussing things with each other, sitting down and reasoning and documenting and so forth is very important, right? We realize how to be courteous, and so on. It's very important. But if we're just going to recognize each other when there's some catastrophe and so forth like that, that's not good. That's not good. That's reactive. You understand? We need to be proactive. You understand? And we need to have that dignity and respect for ourselves, right? And then we need to know a lot about ourselves, our true potential, because there could be some very, very, very powerful minds and orchestrators among us. No doubt there is. But are we touching base with ourselves? I would say no. You understand? And everything doesn't have to be because of a situation that we can spotlight and see ourselves and so forth. That's sad. You know what I mean? That's sad. We need to see ourselves outside of tragedies. You understand? We need to appreciate ourselves outside of tragedies and so on. We have to, right? I want to leave you with Jerusalem. I tell my sister about Jerusalem this morning, and she said, why was mommy dancing and why Jerusalem? So I told her that I will explain, but she need to listen to the song and know why mommy would love the song and want to dance the song. Guidance. You see how me do that and then bite my tongue? Oh.
Of each task and within thy gates, O Jerusalem, such holy place, O Jerusalem, such holy place, O Jerusalem. For my never, never, never leave us alone, Jerusalem.
Oh, Christian, am I comfortable with my lifestyle? 100%. Am I comfortable with my faith? 100%. Do I have a problem with other people's faith? When you say other people, you have to just clarify that. But if the other people means African people, yes. Especially when it's coming from a European perspective. But now you want to go Arab perspective. I'm saying African, man. I'm saying African. But guess what? There's no human that's the author of the Quran. There's none. So until those who say they are followers of God through Moses and Abraham and Isa alayhi salam brings the Torah, the Injil, and the Zabur, I personally can't entertain it. Because that's what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has enlightened us about. So you need to find the Torah, the Zabur, and the Injil. And there'll be no problem, not between me, do we know? We'll be all right, human beings. But because of material strength, those who call themselves Christians, not those, the institutions who bear the title and the administration of Christendom, that's why they're so powerful. And they influence. Any individual that decides that is rational, and let's say I always choose Ramadan, and let's say, take 1 week and fast like the Prophet and like the prophets of old for 1 week, then they will learn something. Likewise, no one can't take something from the Bible and tell me, or anyone for that matter, to adhere to that, and it's like a test. There's nothing there. The fasting that ministers requires their congregation or some members to do, the word fasting is fine, but the pursuit of the fast is wrong. How they conduct and how they carry out the fast is wrong. And they know it, right? Because they are reading. And those who will speak about Lent, why are you waiting for Lent to be a truthful person? Why you abstain from adultery and these things? Then, as soon as Lent is over, you return. What kind of joke is that? I mean, we oftentimes have to look at ourselves as Muslims and say, yo, right, as soon as iftar come, people got to light up them cigarette. I mean, say, this is strange. You're supposed to go break your fast and grab some dates, some water and everything, but you can't wait, right? So we said, you know what I mean, you're addicted, and the nicotine has got you. So you will hear a lot of, we've worked with, we have worked, and we continue to work with a medical fraternity, you know, in informing brothers and sisters who smoke what that does to them, and use it also during Ramadan to highlight that it's not even a good thing. So we do, you know, and we work with science, and we work with the people in the laboratories and the health ministers and all these things. We just don't sit around and decide that we're going to chat about this and chat about that. No. We do the thing properly, the best of our abilities. Islam is very, very organized. It's the media and those who want to throw aspersions that don't go after Islam, they go after Muslims. You know, they spent, so many years trying to undress our women, make out that our women are victims. Because, you know, once you ruin the women, you will transform a nation, or society, or a culture, or a tribe. Did you not know that? Hey, wake up. So they try that. And they get some people that looks like some other people to turn around to say that that's why they fled from Islam. And we don't buy it for 1 second. Because nobody's beaten, forced, or threatened to be a Muslim. What kind of nonsense is that? How long would you be doing that? I mean, you would imprison them, and then what? I mean, we're forcing them to pray. We're forcing them to read the Quran. We're forcing them to eat halal. We're forcing them to not go about the place having relationships, plunder, bunda, and everything. I mean, come on. When are they not going to be by themselves? Oh, so when we find out, what do we do with them? Beat them up? I mean, and who is this we? You understand? So it's a strange thing. And there's no one that's mentally indoctrinated. There are people who are convinced that they need to fight against oppression and these type of thing, you know. And I say convinced because they come from somewhere, and if they did not represent themselves against their own population, how can you come into another person's land, country, and insist, or you want to fight them for something that you feel you should have, but you didn't have it in your own country? I mean, that don't make sense. Understand? And you didn't put no time or effort trying to help your own selves and your family and the people, but you come to someone else's country, and now you want to be this angelic and this powerful-minded person? Nah, doesn't work with us. Doesn't. So understand that we're free. You understand? We're free. Assalamu alaikum. Guidance, we're gone.